just want to say hi to everybody, to greet everybody who's come to join us in the discussion so far. Thank you so much for coming. And I'm Trudy, and I'm the Director of Empowering Children and Families. We are working in conjunction with Spectacular Arts, and if Sharon isn't here, Amy will have to tell us a little bit more about Spectacular Arts, who we've partnered with to deliver first aid for mental health and look at other well-being services for the community. We've also partnered today with Amy Washington from Ames Fitness, fabulous person, and also Emma Dillon, absolutely fantastic therapist from Enlightened Therapies, to bring you this discussion today about anxiety and how to manage it during a time of uncertainty. We're just 1 minute, away from being there, so we're just going to wait for other people to come in that 1 minute, because we do have to keep time. I see Simon coming on. Hi, Simon. Thank you for coming. And so we're really happy. So we know that there is a third lockdown now, and a variant that is of the virus that is so out there. Before all of this, mental health existed. When you describe mental health, it is the social, psychological, and emotional well-being of a person. So we all have mental health. It's mental illness or mental health condition that causes us not to be well. So if you think about somebody who goes to the gym and they're fit, and there are all those new terms that they call fit, I don't know. I'm a little bit too old for all those new terms. Nobody frowns on when somebody says, "Oh, I'm physically well." You think, yes, the person has life and energy. And so it's the same thing with the term mental health. It means that you have kept your psychological, your social, and emotional well-being healthy. What we are a little bit concerned about, and what we've come to shed light on and to give help, it would be to those who are struggling with a mental health condition, or with a mental illness. And so I see Sharon. So we are ECAF. I'm Trudy, and I am the Director of Empowering Children and Families. We are a not-for-profit community interest group, and we deliver soft skill training courses, mainly first aid for mental health, family first aid for mental health. And we do some other courses like parenting, family workshops, and of course, all Get Set for Success. We have now partnered with Spectacular Arts. And Sharon, I'm going to give you a quick 1 minute, 2 minutes to talk about Spectacular Arts.
Okay, yes, I can indeed. So thank you very much, Trudy, and thank you for agreeing to partner with us and collaborating, because I think it's very important at this time that we actually try and support each other and look after each other. And obviously mental health is a big issue at the minute, and people's anxieties. So as a few people might know, Spectacular Arts is all about bringing our diverse community together, and we've been doing that through the arts and doing festivals. Obviously with COVID, we are not able to do events at the moment and festivals, so we're trying to utilize our skills with being a team that's already formed and organized to now support the community, and this is one way that we can do that. We are continuing to plan for the next few years for festivals, but our focus right now is here for the community, supporting it through mental health, and there are other aspects within supporting the Black community in particular, of having a positive narrative of images and information that we will continue going forward to share. So please look out for that. But thank you very much for your support, and looking very much forward to this session.
Thank you. We're quite happy. Of course, when Sharon and I had this discussion, we automatically realized that ECAF and Spectacular Arts would work well together. And so I just really want to say thank you publicly as well for giving us the opportunity to partner with you. And so without any further ado, we're just going to go straight into it. And our setup at ECAF is whatever we do, we always give back. So as well as partnering with Spectacular Arts, our part of giving back goes to them as well. for the fantastic work they're doing. So today we have with you the amazing Amy Washington, and Emma Dillo, who will be a part of the panel with myself on this discussion on anxiety. We don't claim to know it all, but together we're going to get through this session with the knowledge, skills, and experience that we all have collectively to get through it. I just want to say that one of the biggest things for me, the first lockdown was horrible. I'm not even, anybody who knows me by enough met me have heard, first lockdown was horrible. Listen, 2020 was going to be my year. I had these plans. I had all these people who had booked me to do these different things for them in 2020. And I got a plane ticket to go somewhere to deliver a course that I didn't have to spend my own money on. And then just the Monday when I was supposed to fly out to go and deliver this course, First Aid for Mental Health, the Friday, all hell started breaking loose around the world, and then we kind of like knew that, no flying is going to happen. And I thought to myself, oh my God. And I'm not going to lie, when the official lockdown came on the 23rd, I just started crying. I cried. Maybe you're better than me. I cried so much. I cried till I didn't have any tears left, because when you have worked so hard for something and it's finally coming together, and then this, and I had to use all that I know about First Aid for Mental Health to get myself through it and say, okay, it's all done. The organization that wanted for me to deliver the course for them said, listen, we can do this on Zoom. It's not that bad. The airline gave me back my money, so it isn't that bad. And then before the pandemic, I would always talk to people about mental health and nobody wanted to know. And especially in the Black community, because they think nothing is wrong. It's not something they talk about, because you must be the strong Black woman or the strong Asian woman or any strong woman. Even if you're white, you're supposed, once you're a woman, you're supposed to expect it to be strong. I don't know why. And worse, if you're a mother, you have to be this super person. And so a friend of mine who's a lawyer that lives abroad, I would talk to him and I said to him, would your colleagues want to know? And he said, no, we don't have that problem. And all of a sudden, at the beginning of the lockdown, the first lockdown, I had people calling like nobody's business saying, hey, I remember something about you saying something about mental health, because the pandemic started to affect everybody's mental health. And so one of the things I'm going to be sharing with you, one of the things it did do was get people thinking about, the people were at first, because of the lack of the knowledge, people were anxious. People didn't know what was happening. They didn't know what was occurring. They didn't know how. I myself got ill because I didn't know what to do. So I eventually put a scarf over my face that shouldn't be over my face, and I got ill using the scarf and stuff like that. So it's a lot of stuff. So anxiety, how do we handle that? So if I go from here, am I going to get a big enough slide? Right. So what is anxiety? What exactly is anxiety? It's a constant feeling of unease. And I'm hoping that the session today would generate in us that feeling of being able to, if there is such a situation that we're able to identify, the end result is we're able to seek professional help like Emma and use self-help strategies as in Amy to get us through. It's something that we can get through. I just want to state that it's something that you can get through with the right help and support. You're not going to be stuck there forever. With the right help and support, we can get through this, and we can get through this together. So it's a constant feeling of unease or worry. And you'll say to me, to worry is normal. It's a normal body response. But when it's constant, that's when we have to pay attention to it. So when anxiety is more constant, it affects our daily lives. And in this case, it's called general anxiety, and about 5% of the UK population suffers from that. So that's feeling, that's constant worrying. It doesn't matter if it's, are they going to cut off the lights, the phone? Am I going to get food? Can I go out? Will I catch this new variant of the virus? This constant worry, even when you can relax, even when there's nothing you can do about the situation, you're constantly worrying. that's anxiety. If you worry on and off, but if you're constantly, we just want to make it clear, the constant worrying is what we're concerned about. So what are some signs and symptoms? Strong, fast, or irregular heartbeat, trembling or shaking, hyperventilating, excessive sweating, and shortness of breath, lack of energy, muscle aches and pains, dry mouth, feeling sick and headaches and panic attacks. So when you constantly have these, it doesn't matter what the situation, it doesn't matter what's happening, it doesn't matter who you're around, we are now looking into anxiety. So the main symptoms of, it's a main symptom of several conditions, and that is panic disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, which I think was touted as our next topic that we will look at in depth, acute stress disorder, and phobias such as claustrophobia. And I know, claustrophobia is one of those conditions in mental health that I think, and Emma can correct me, people don't mind saying, oh, I'm claustrophobic. They don't have a problem saying that. It seems to be accepted. But it's a phobia, it's a fear, it makes you anxious. And we know from phobias that the threat is sometimes not present or real. And that's why it's a phobia. And so you find anxiety in all of these different conditions. So how do we manage anxiety? How do we do that for someone? How do we manage anxiety? So this is what we do. We provide the opportunity for the person to talk. If the person does not initiate the conversation, we should try. If we're the person who's suffering from anxiety, then we should try to find someone we can talk to. And we're going to look at the different avenues, including avenues like Emma and her therapy sessions. We choose an appropriate time where you both feel comfortable to talk about whatever is happening, and get away from distractions. And you're going to have to do that as well. If the person is experiencing symptoms of panic attack, suggest a change of location where they feel more comfortable. Or if it's you, if you're in a particular environment and there's panic attack, you can suggest that you go somewhere else. Encourage them to breathe slowly through their nose and through their mouth. And if it's you again, so we're twofold with this situation, you can breathe through your nose and mouth and just have that calm. You also, hold on. So provide reassurance to the person. So you can list the positive points, focus on the positives that are there. And for you, that's a self-help strategy as well. Focus on the positive things. So when the virus came, I said to myself, you know what? No, everybody isn't going to die. I know it sounds crazy, but everybody isn't going to die. Everybody isn't going to die, unfortunately. And I would cry for days when I read the news, heard the news. 500 persons died today. They didn't have to be related to me for me to cry. That's a person gone. And we really are sorry for those who have lost their lives. But in the same time, we have to remain positive. And I said, well, everybody is not going to die. That's the first thing. And then I looked around and I said, well, there's still foods in the shop. We can still go shopping for food. Because at one point, there was no toilet paper or stuff like that. So I'm thinking, okay, fine, we can still go out. It's just whatever works for you to find positive things to focus on, that's okay. Then Listen to the person carefully and remain calm and provide reassurance that they will feel better soon. And it'll be the same thing to you. It's important that you find someone who can do these things for you. And that's why we highly recommend seeking professional help, such as Emma's, where that person is trained, they know what to do, they can do this. Accept what they say without judging them and show your understanding of the situation. So accept, what the person is saying. Don't say, oh, really? Well, I don't see why you should be stressed. It's not like all the variants are going to come to the UK. If they're feeling anxious, they're just feeling anxious, and that's just it. And so we have to not judge them, but to show our understanding of the situation. If they feel comfortable, you can help them to access information and resources. They say, okay, where can I get a bit of help? Then you can tell them. You can assist them and signpost to professional services such as their GP or to individuals like Emma. And then here are a few places where they can get help for whatever they're looking at. What we want to say here at ECAF is we want to advocate always in seeking professional help. And then there's self-help strategy as well. So you seek professional help, as in a therapist. You speak to your GP about the anxiety that you're facing or a loved one is facing. And then you can also do self-help strategies, as in Emma doing your fitness, watching your diet, having a hobby, stuff like that. It is important to educate yourself, and that's why we teach first aid for mental health. It's important that you educate yourself about mental health, to know what it is. Just as how we know clearly what the signs and some of the signs and symptoms are for anxiety. So we know when those present themselves, and when they're constant, we can now say to ourselves, right, I might need a bit of help right now. I might need to go and ask for help. And so can I just state too, there is no shame in asking for help. The professionals know what they're doing. They're trained. They know what they're doing. They can give you the right help that you need. I would encourage, and in first aid for mental health, we signpost to professionals straight away, because first aiders for mental health just act like a regular first aider. We're the first point of call for anyone. We recommend that all companies, schools, everyone, especially now, even if people are working from home, companies still need to have that first aider to call in and check on the person, that they can book that time to speak with them. But we always say, so imagine you have a first aider, and then the ambulance comes, and then the first aider doesn't want to let go of the person. And the first aider wants to get up into the ambulance, and then they go to the ER, and the first aider doesn't want to let go of the person. And the consultant comes, and the first aider just still doesn't want to let go of the person. That would be what it would be like if the first aider for mental health did not pass the person over to get the right help. And with that, I'm going to introduce a lovely Miss Dillon. Emma, take it away.
Hi, Trudy. Thank you very much. Thank you also for giving me the opportunity to talk on the panel today. It's really amazing to join with you guys. So I want to use this time to talk really positively about therapy and how it works, and particularly how it can work with regards to anxiety. I run my own private practice based in Bedford, and I work, well, at the moment online, via telephone and face-to-face within the guidelines as and when we can do that. But I think this is a really positive way to talk about therapy and help to reduce that stigma that you were talking about that still remains around mental health and around seeking help for any problems that you're experiencing. You don't have to be broken to come to therapy. It benefits the vast majority of people, whatever stage of life you're at, whatever problems you're experiencing, whatever's going on for you. And just to say, I haven't got any slides, so I'm just going to blither on for 10 minutes using my notes. But as Trudy said, our mental health is always with us. It goes up and it goes down depending on what's going on for us in our own lives, and also what's going on around us in our environment, and in the country and in the world. And also, as Trudy said, it's really important that people recognise that your mental health can improve. that you can do stuff to improve the situation, and you can do things to improve the way that you're feeling. That positive change is possible, and that is equally true around anxiety. There are things that you can do to ease your symptoms of anxiety and to help you feel better. There's a quote which I like, which I'm going to have to read. It says, to evolve, we must go beyond our current knowledge. Doing this makes everything a possibility. Get comfortable with not knowing. And I appreciate that not knowing is really scary. It's a really scary thing. But therapy can help with that too. So therapy provides a safe space. It helps with consistency of regular sessions. It's time for you as the client where you can talk about anything without being judged, without interruption, and without distraction. So a client said to me last Saturday that our sessions make her feel really safe. Now, to me, that's amazing. That is one of the benefits of therapy. That's one of the aims. But the big aim in that statement is that eventually she can go on to make herself feel really safe without my support and without the sessions. So that's the aim, to make people get their own autonomy and their own responsibility for themselves. So what people think therapy is, they think it's talking about your problems. And I'd add to that, they also think that the therapist is going to give you the answers to your problems. But what therapy actually is talking about your problems, but in an enabling and empowering way. So the emphasis is very much on the client. I'm here to support, to help, to signpost, to guide, to ask those questions, sometimes challenging questions, but questions nonetheless, to encourage you to think about what's going on for you right now. It's about building awareness of your thoughts, emotions, and your behaviours, because these are all interlinked. It's talking about identifying and practicing in the sessions coping mechanisms, so some of the things that you spoke about, Trudy. Possibly setting tasks for people to do in between sessions, so it's really proactive. And psychoeducation, and that's the real big one. That's going back to the quote I gave before about knowledge and, taking yourself further. So that's about learning, the evolution and the knowledge, helping clients to understand what's going on for them. And people access therapy for all kinds of reasons. And the reason that they come to therapy, we call that the presenting problem. Some people do come solely for anxiety. But even if their presenting problem is something else, it's quite likely that anxiety will pop up as well, that it manifests within other problems that people come to talk about. And it may pop up in the way that they feel, in the way that they behave, the decisions that they make. Anxiety can really limit your life if you let it. So there are lots of things that we can do in our sessions to help reduce anxiety. And the obvious one, talking about it. But what does that mean? So it means giving it airtime, giving it time and space. To hear yourself talking about your anxieties brings it in a very different way to when you just hear it inside your head. To actually hear yourself speak it, to speak it into the room and someone else to listen to that, kind of allows you to look at it more as an observer than just a person that it's happening to, that constant cycle that we feel ourselves getting caught up in. It sounds really simple that talking about it helps, but it really does. It's powerful stuff. We also look at where these anxieties have come from. What is the root cause of these anxieties? Often our brain is trying to take us back in time to a similar situation that made us feel the same way. Perhaps in our childhood, or a situation at work, or someone else made us feel anxious, or a situation made us feel anxious. And so it's trying to prompt us to react in the same way, but sometimes that's not relevant anymore. So we need to look at it differently and treat it as the here and now, instead of making these links and these patterns, which again, make us feel stuck with things. Therapy is about bringing things in closer. And that works really well for anxiety. So we're looking at what your anxiety is. What does it mean to you? What can you control? And more importantly, what can you not control? It's about looking at your own situation. Comparison with others is something that pops up a lot in my sessions, and comparing yourself with other people can be really anxiety provoking. Especially when you're looking on social media, it can really appear that other people are coping so well with everything. Everything's going really, really well. But is that true? You know, that's that whole Instagram versus reality situation. So it's encouraging you to look at your situation rather than what's going on around you, because that's what matters. That's what matters in therapy, what goes on for you and how you feel. Your situation, what are you struggling with? What are your triggers? So that's the benefit of therapy, you know, that it's kind of tailor-made. It's very personal to your own situation. Just to touch really quickly on control, because that's something that I think is really important with regards to anxiety. It comes up a lot. Being out of control makes us feel anxious, basically. And this current situation that we're in, as you said, Trudy, you know, does make us feel anxious. We don't know what's going on. We don't know how long these things are going to last for. All these restrictions are being placed on us and it's out of our control. But that's a really good exercise just to think about, what can I control as opposed to what can't I control? You can't control what terrible statistics are being read out on the news, but you can control how much exposure you give yourself to the news and how often you watch the news and whether you use reputable sources of news or not. You can't control what the government guidelines are or what's going to be announced next, but you can control what you do on a day-to-day basis. You can keep yourself safe. You can't control what other people do or don't do. All you can do is take control of yourself and your own situation and your own family. So things that help us stay in control, trying to implement some kind of routine always works the best that you can. I know it's really hard in lockdown, but try and keep some form of routine that reminds you of normality and how you used to live your life before. Practicing gratitude. There's always something in our lives that we are grateful for. Sometimes we have to look a little bit harder, but they don't have to be massive things, but there's always something there that we can be grateful for, and that really helps us to regain control as well. And finally, reaching out and sharing your feelings. In situations like this, we all realise that everyone is struggling in one way or another. We're sharing similar fears, similar anxieties, and that in itself helps us feel less alone when we realise that. And I hope that we'll be able to experience some of that feeling of connection and sort of sharing these anxieties and feelings when we come on to the discussion and questions and answers after Amy's had her time to speak.
Hi everyone, thanks Emma, thanks Trudy. Okay, so my name's Amy and I'm a personal trainer based in Bedfordshire. I'm 38 years old, and before we get into why exercise is good for anxiety and depression, I just want to give you a background on myself, why I became a personal trainer and just my journey with mental health. So it all started when I was younger. I had an alcoholic mum, and so I've had anxiety throughout my life. My sister passed away in 2003 suddenly, and that was again a massive blow for me. It sounds like I'm reading off, and then on the 7th of July 2005, I was caught up on the King's Cross tube, and I was actually on one of the tubes on the actual King's Cross excluded. I suffered with PTSD. I was off work for a year, and I actually got cognitive behavioural therapy for that because obviously that did affect me quite a lot. After getting therapy, I moved to Sydney in 2006, and it wasn't by any means running away from this country. It was just life was too short. Me and my partner at the time, we decided to leave, and obviously we went to the other side of the world. That wasn't planned either. It's just that's where he got his job. And so I spent 9 years there, got married, had my 2 twin girls, and then I got postnatal depression. So the marriage broke down. We came back to the UK, and I was homeless basically. I didn't have a house, so I moved in with my sister, bless her, with the girls on my own, and I had to find myself again. I had to dig deep into me and find that person that I used to be, and it was hard. I found myself a house. Again, a hard decision to make, but I had to do it. And then I decided to pursue a different career. And the career that I chose was exercise And the reason for that is because I found that it helped me through what I had been dealing with most of my life. I was in the events industry for 15 years, but I had to give that up for children. So I've only been a personal trainer for the past 3 years. I then decided that I wanted to try something different. And so I went on a out of the box scenario and did a white collar boxing match. Thought, why not step in the ring and do something I've never done before? But you know what? It was the best thing I did, because from that, it taught me a different style of exercise, and I became a level 1 England boxing coach. And the reason for that is because it took my stress away. Hitting those pads gave me a euphoria, a different kind of stress reliever, and I wanted to give that back to my clients. So I became a boxing coach, and that's why I became a trainer. Basically, I became a trainer to help others fight mental health. It wasn't about the body side of things. I knew once my mind was okay, then the body would follow. So why exercise reduces anxiety and depression? Again, I'm not using slides. I'm just going to read my notes and talk to you. So when stress affects the brain, the body feels the impact as well. They say that if your body is good, so is your mind. However, I believe that once my mind was straight, it made it easier to deal with body image. And this is why I use exercise. Exercise and other physical activity produce endorphins, which are chemicals in the brain which act as natural painkillers. It is scientifically proven that exercise is an effective treatment for mental health. And I am firsthand to that. I have to say that I am. So, benefits of exercise. So, improve sleep, which in turn reduce tiredness. So you may feel at the moment, because you may not be getting out as much as you used to, walking to the shops, going around the shops, you might feel tired. So getting some exercise in there will reduce that tiredness. It increases mental awareness. It can improve your memory and reduce that brain fog. Now, I've felt it a lot through lockdown. I felt like I'm talking gibberish to my children. I'm mixing up words. But once I've done a bit of exercise, I feel like, my brain can be relieved, and I'm actually thinking straight. Can increase self-confidence and self-esteem. At the moment, we're all probably just sitting on the couches, working from home, that kind of stuff. So we're not actually engaging. So doing some exercise can increase your self-confidence and self-esteem. It also motivates you to choose healthier methods to reduce stress, instead of turning to the bottle of drink, or, to the cigarettes, or to, comfort eating, which again was one of my crutches, was comfort eating. It helps to control your weight along with a healthy diet, and it can reduce heart disease. Exercise can strengthen your heart and improve your circulation, and it can also lower your blood pressure. It also strengthens bones and muscles and reduces loss of bone density. So, what are my tips for exercising? So make sure that you are getting out at least once a day if you can. Okay, that 10 to 15 minute walk a day. It doesn't have to be half an hour. It doesn't have to be at 45 minutes. 10 to 15, just walking up the road and back, will make you feel so much better than just sitting in your house. Also, drinking water. I know everyone probably says that in the fitness industry, but it does. If instead of going for the coffee, because you're inside at the minute, you are probably dehydrated more, because you're not getting, you're drinking coffee, you're drinking tea, you're probably drinking energy drinks, because you feel that you are, you're tired. But it's a knock-on effect. You're tired because you're not doing exercise. And when I say exercise, I'm not saying exercise as in, or going for a marathon run, or doing an exercise class. I'm talking about walking to the train station, walking to the bus stop, getting in your car, going to work, walking around your office. That is exercise. But because you're sat in your house you're walking from the kitchen to your living room. That's not really exercise. So this is what you've got to remember. So, get that water intake in you. Make sure that you've got a cup either side. You can have your coffee's fine, tea is fine. Try and decaffeinated coffee, but just remember that is probably why you're feeling tired, is your dehydratedness. You then also have to, it helps. The tips are also 10,000 steps a day. Try and do that. If you've got, you will have apps on your phones that monitors your steps. You also may have your watches. Try and get 10,000 steps in a day. And that will also increase your steps and make you go out. Do a challenge for yourself. Download the apps if you can. Also distract yourself when you're exercising. Get your iPod, your headphones on. Download your musics, your audio books, your podcasts, and go for that walk, and allow that to distract you and allow that to take you in, so you don't realize that you're walking, or you're doing an exercise class, or you're on your bike, or whatever it is. Just get out and exercise. And the last vital thing that I say is it takes time. Okay, very important. When you start the exercise journey, it's not going to happen overnight. It takes 4 to 8 weeks to to start a new habit and to get rid of an old one. Okay, so it's very important. Don't beat yourself up if you've missed a day of exercise, or don't beat yourself up because you can't do 10 burpees than the other person. Just make sure you're moving about once a day, and you will increase your your fitness. And just so you know as well, I will be putting on some free Zoom classes as well. So if anybody is interested in that, after our discussion, please put your hand up, and I'm more than happy to do some Zoom classes, because I know at the moment financial is one of the big issues. I'm not taking away from other PTs, that's not what I'm doing, but because obviously I know what it's like to have mental health, and I'm sure a lot of people do. That's what I want to give back to you guys. So I hope that helped. We are now going to open the floor, I think, Trudy, aren't we?
We are. So thank you so much, Emma. Thank you so much, Amy, for giving us those hints and tips of how to deal with the uncertainty of life. When we face uncertainty, how to manage our anxiety. I try to drink as much water as I possibly can. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our questions. So we have, I know Simon had his hand up. Simon, and then Sharon had her hand up. So if we go Simon and then Sharon.
Hi everyone. I was just doing the little round of applause thingy, but just a comment, just to say thank you for sharing. So to Trudy, Emma, and to Amy, thank you for sharing that information, those tips. And I think sometimes it seems like the really simple things, but it's always good just to hear. That information again. Sometimes it's good just to have that reminder. So just thank you, really.
Not a problem.
Yeah, thank you to everybody, and to Amy for sharing her personal story as well. I think it's easy for us, as you say, to beat ourselves up. Why are we in this mental state? Why can't we go out for the daily exercise? So I think you're right to state that don't be hard on ourselves when we can't and we haven't got the energy to do that, but at least to try and do something. So thank you. I think it is important, and particularly the advice you were giving about when somebody's saying they've got anxieties and then we're like, oh, you're all right. It's really easy to react in that way, but like say, to come at it with empathy and to really listen. So thank you. Those are tips I'll definitely take away. So if anybody's stressing around me, I'll kind of be empathetic and maybe suggest we go for a walk together. So I think there's some good tips there. So thank you. I'll definitely try and join those exercise classes, Amy.
Good.
I think Sheena said that she once heard that anxiety is not a thing you have, it's a thing that you do. It's a natural body response. It's something that's in you that automatically comes out. So it's something that's in there that it comes out. So in first aid for mental health, we're not the therapist, Emma and those people are. So in just at the basic element of looking after your mental health, we say to you that, well, it's how you're responding to it. What we want to people to understand is that we want you to respond appropriately to it so that it doesn't overtake your life, if that's okay, Shauna. So that's why we're here to give how the uncertainty will make you feel anxious if you're not in control, if you don't know what's happening. If you recently they said wear 2 masks, 2 masks because of the variant. I mean, I can't hardly breathe in one, kind of thing. So it's those things. What can I control? Okay, so I'll get the conversation started. So Emma, I want to see a therapist, and but I'm not sure the best way of going to see the therapist, because in my head I have an idea of a therapist is just going to be sitting there, me lying on a couch, and well, now in a Zoom time I wouldn't even know how to. How can you tell us how we can start? What's the best way for somebody to say, okay, I think I need help? What's the best way for them to start initiating and having that conversation so that they can get the help?
Yeah, great question. I mean, there are lots of different types of therapy out there, and that's kind of the first decision that you've got to make. What type of therapy do you want? So I really work on a talking therapy. So it is, basically just having that conversation between two people. But there are, as Amy talked about, specialists, perhaps with regards to PTSD, some people that work with CBT. So it's different techniques. So it's working out what's going to work best for you. We've all had to change and adapt with regards to coronavirus and moving online. It was something that I didn't offer as a therapist before this happened. So we're all on that learning curve, and we're all working out, how to do it the best we can and support people. Search online, stick it in Google. There's a counselling directory. I'm a member of the BACP, which is a governing body, which, reassures you, if you like, that people that are on there are qualified. So find somebody that you can look on their website, read their profile, see what kind of counselling they offer, and see if that initially suits your needs. Most counsellors, including myself, will offer a free consultation so that you can have an initial chat with them, either on Zoom or on the telephone, whichever you prefer. And for me, that's really important. I offer a free 20-minute consultation session, because the relationship between counsellor and client is really important. So you get to just check out whether you have some rapport with that person, whether you feel you can work together with that person. Trust and things like that obviously takes some time to build. It's not going to happen immediately, but I think we all have that idea when we meet somebody, whether this person is going to connect with us, whether this person is going to understand us. And each session is the client's own time, so you can bring to the session whatever material you want to talk about. If it's about the here and now, if it's about the past, if it's a mixture of the two, if it's specific problems, the session should be yours for you to use however you want to, and just be reassured that there is no judgment. It's entirely confidential. It's a safe place for you to share any concerns that you've got. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, and just for everyone's knowledge, I'm in therapy once a week as well, and I think everyone should have a therapist, to be honest with you. It's like you can just offload to someone that that doesn't know you, that doesn't know your family. You can just talk about them like they like you want to, and you actually, once you've actually spoken about it, you actually then realize what you're going to do about it, because you've actually told the therapist and you're like, okay, that is what I should have done in the first place, or I've actually had that I should have had that in my brain all along. But it's just getting it out, and I think that's a lot with support groups and stuff. It's actually being able to speak about your feelings and not feel that you're going to be judged by anybody.
I strongly agree with you, Amy, in terms of speaking to a therapist. While I don't have one at the minute, just in first aid for mental health, what we do is we also talk about self-help strategies. So going for your exercise or finding a friend. And that's why it was important for me to ask Emma the question, because a therapist might seem so far removed to some people. So they can start with a friend, somebody they trust, somebody with good knowledge, and have a chat with your GP. And as somebody put in the chat, they're quite lengthy, and especially now, I can't imagine what if somebody goes to a GP service and says it's a practice and say I need to talk to somebody, how long they'll have to wait. And that's why we're working with Spectacular Arts to train up first aiders for mental health that can be that first port of call, and then we can move them on to the first, instead of, not that we're bypassing the GP, but then and they could say, okay, we know Emma or other Emmas.
Hi, all I wanted to add was when Emma was saying about going out there and finding counsellors and things, please, if you find the first one you don't get on with, don't give up. Because I had a bad experience. I had a car accident and I got referred to a counsellor. And the first one I went into, the first thing he said to me when I told him what had happened was, oh my God, I can't believe what you've gone through. And that made me hit panic and flight mode. And I very nearly gave up on all counsellors. And if I had, I wouldn't be where I am now today, counselling children. So in which case, when you find the first one that doesn't react or you don't quite take to, please don't give up, keep trying, because there are fantastic ones out there.
Agree.
Perfect.
100%.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And it's really nice to get that, to let know that, to Lynette, for you to let us know that it, therapy does work. And if it seems like it's off to a bad start, it will work eventually. So thank you so much for that.
My organisation has been running like a befriending service, and it's helped some people. Obviously, it's not therapy, but there are a lot of people out there that, because they live on their own, the anxiety is even worse. And we've got a lady who has mobility problems and is told constantly, oh, she's got to get out. But now she doesn't even feel that urge. So what we've had to do, because obviously of the restrictions, we've had one of the befrienders that they walk behind each other, socially distant, just up and down the road, which has helped her. And I think we need to look at, just ringing people. Like, we have like a telephone tree, and we just ring each other just to check in. I didn't panic last year, because I kind of think I was under the impression that it would all be over by September, as they said per the news. And then when September came and it got worse, then I started thinking, I'm not going to see anyone. And I miss my grandchildren more than anything else. I do a story time with them nearly every night, and that kind of helps, but it's still that anxiety of not seeing them. And then when my daughters have brought my grandchildren to the door, I'm left sometimes feeling even worse because I can't hug them. And one of them actually said, I can't hug you because I'll make you die.
Oh. And
as much as that was like, the things that children can say, I was just like, oh my God, is that, how they feel? And that's the thing I've been struggling with the most, is not having that intimacy with my grandchildren, because they're very, very huggy and clingy, and I got the wrong book for the story time, so I said, I'll just go and get the book from the other room. And I had to bring my whole device with me, because the youngest grandchild did not want to stop seeing my face if I walked off. So they're going through their own kind of stress as well. I wasn't just something where she missed Nana, she just didn't want me to leave. And yeah, this whole thing has brought about such, all I can call it is really.
I know the feeling. Funny enough, you should say that, Pete, because my brother said, this was my brother's means of getting around everything. He said, oh, well, if you do a test and I do a test, then you can come over. I thought to myself, really? But that's his positive spin on it, because we all wanted to see each other, but we wanted to ensure that everybody was safe. And he said, well, if we all get tested and then stay in from the time of the test until we're ready to come back out to see each other, then that should be a safe way of going around doing it. We eventually didn't do that with him, but that's another thing I want to. I know we have to go, but I just also want to point out, and P raised a really good point. if you think as an adult, anxiety is a lot, it is. Can you imagine a child? So I want you to take into consideration how the children around us are feeling, especially during this pandemic. And they say to you that anxiety starts as early as age 11 and even younger. So are we having these discussions with our children? And here's another thing I want to say too. Once we talk about it, have open and honest conversations with your family members about how you're feeling and what's happening around you. And that can help to lessen the anxiety that you're feeling. So I thought in March that, it's the end of the world and I'm never going to see my mom again. And I said to her, Mom, I'm never going to see you again. And my mom just said, oh, don't say that. My mom didn't see it that way. So I was seeing it that way, but she didn't see it that way. She's like, oh no, your travel will resume. Don't say that. And the minute she said that to me, I started, feeling better. So it's important that we have that honest and open conversation with our family members. And if we can't, we definitely need to go to the therapist. We definitely need to find someone we can talk to, seek professional help, or find a friend to talk to. So there are loads of things that are out there. We will be sending you information out on first aid for mental health courses, what Emma does, what Amy does, and even a little bit of what Spectacle Arts does. P, I like the sound of your befriending service, and I think it would be great if we could all work together in terms of training up first aiders for mental health who are part of a befriending service. So if not for the small community, the Black community or some other community, there is this branch or arm of people ready and willing to help that is out there, because we all sound like we're working towards the same goal in this pandemic. So we just want to be able to possibly work together to provide that help and support that's needed. But I just want to reiterate, we're going to get through this. We are going. Emma, if you want to say anything, quickly, and Amy, before we go.
Yeah, just to say thank you very much. I hope it's been really helpful for everybody. We've all shared some really great information. There's been some more great information in the comments as well. There is help out there, regardless of what help you need. And as the other lady said, do persevere. If I should have mentioned that, there are lots and lots of counsellors and therapists and well-being experts out there. And if the first one doesn't suit you, which is the point of having this sort of initial conversation with somebody, just to check that out. But if further down the line it's not working out, let them know, that's fine. They're trained to deal with that as well, and try somebody else. Just keep going, keep persevering. And as Trudy says, we will get through this together.
Yeah.
Perfect, Amy.
And just again, reiterating with exercise, be patient when you start. Allow yourself to get into exercising. And if you want any information regarding exercising, you're more than welcome to contact me, and Trudy will send out those Zoom dates for those free classes shortly.
Thank you to the lovely Emma Dillow and Amy Washington. I just want to really thank you for making this a success. I hope it was of benefit to everyone. You will hear from us shortly with all the follow-up details and our next date for our next topic of discussion around mental health and well-being and how we're going to just continue working in our community. Thank you so much and have a fab evening. Thank you all.